What's up, YouTube? DJ Kryptonite here talking combat sports, uh, boxing, all that good stuff. And again, I just give my opinion on commentary, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. But the latest news is interesting. Looks like Canelo Alvarez has a dancing partner for his next fight. And it's not who we thought he was going to be. In fact, it's somebody that's a bit obscure, not well known in the boxing world. However, he has a belt, but the belt is being held at cruiserweight. So now Alvarez is moving on up to cruiserweight. Now, to say this is cherry picking is a bit of an understatement. So it appears that you actually looked up and down the weight classes to find another belt that you can pilfer with lesser talent. Just a little odd to me. Again, as I don't know, as the guy in boxing, meaning the guy to beat, the guy who generates all of the revenue, who can make all his own decisions, make all his own choices at this point. For you to do something like this, it kind of leaves a bad taste to true boxing fans. Now, casual fans will simply state that, yeah, he's just going up to get another belt. It's going to be exciting. He's taking another belt, adding it to his collection, which is great. But a true boxing fan is like, looks like you cherry picking now. Yeah, you're cherry picking. Now, the guy's name is, I don't want to butcher his name, is Illunga Makabu, who's a cruiserweight champ. He holds one of the belts. I believe it's the WBA. I'm not sure, but he's won 9 straight fights. He won his last 9. I think he won his last 9, but previous to those, he was knocked out twice, TKO early in his career, and maybe right about the time that he went on his streak. Just before that, he was knocked out. So it's just a bit odd that you go up that far to cherry pick a cruiserweight that has a questionable record, for one, and you gotta question his motives, other than the fact that you're just cherry picking for a belt. And if you're just collecting straps, that's fine. But as one of the ambassadors of the game, I think you're looked at a bit different, meaning your quality of opponents should matter at this stage. You shouldn't be fighting tomato cans, and I'm afraid that this may be a tomato can, because it's not a whole lot of information on this guy, even though Makabu is actually, I think he's ranked as the number 2 active, the second best cruiserweight currently. I think that's what he's ranked overall. Out of the 3 champs, I think he's ranked like the second best cruiserweight, which ain't bad. But cruiserweight has always been like an obscure division. You had some big names in there, in history, I guess. James Toney, David Hay. You had some folks that carried that torch in the cruiserweight class for a very long time. I think even Evander Holyfield may have campaigned there for a while. So you have some pretty big names that used to be there historically, and then they eventually, most of which shifted up to heavyweight, because the limit for cruiserweight is 200 pounds. So you can be you just got to be under 200 pounds to fight at cruiser. So it is what it is. But the problem I have with it is, it starts to look a little suspect when you can make your own calls and that sort of thing. See, right now, Alvarez is benefiting from the fact that it really doesn't matter who his opponent is, because he's going to make the same money, because he's the star. He's the star power. It's not about who he's fighting. This is about him fighting. And that's unfortunate, because you always want to have a good dancing partner, because it makes for a good fight. It's entertainment, and it's competitive. If you don't have a competitive fight, is it really worth watching? They criticized Floyd Mayweather the same way. His last few fights, I think he fought Andre Berto, which was kind of a waste. Berto was pretty much a shell of himself. He wasn't really that good at that time. I think the Ghost, Guerrero, I think the Ghost, he fought the Ghost. He was fairly terrible at that time. But again, I think Floyd had signed that 6-fight deal with Showtime. So he had to just get those fights in. And at that point, again, he was fighting. It wasn't about his opponents. It was about him. He was generating the revenue. Didn't matter who he was fighting. It clearly didn't matter. It didn't matter if it was a competitive fight or not. They came to see Floyd. They didn't come to see anybody else, just like they're doing with Alvarez now. They're coming to see Alvarez. They don't care who he's fighting. But a real fan is actually saying, hey, we need to have some competitive fights. See, Floyd fought a lot of competitive fights early on, and towards the end of his career, he started to taper that off because he started making his own calls. But, Alvarez's resume doesn't really look like Floyd's, because I don't know if he actually fought as many champs or Hall of Famers. You can name a lot of folks that Floyd fought early on that were very, very good fighters. Canelo, probably not so much. At this stage, not so much. So this is the thing. He cherry-picked this guy, but he bypassed Charlo at 160. Now, I think Canelo just fought at 168, and Charlo 160, right within range. He could have backed up a little bit or met at a catch weight and fought Charlo. Big money, big campaign fight. David Benavidez. I think David Benavidez is at 168 at super middle. He bypassed that fight. Young guy, undefeated, rangy, tall, a lot of power, knocking everybody out. He avoided that fight too, and that was probably the most ideal fight competitively. It would have been a good fight. For boxing fans, it would have been a great fight. But for Alvarez, it would have been a chance. He would have been taking a chance, because potentially he could have lost that fight. So Benavidez was out the window anyway. He's not taking chances like that at this point, it seems. So Benavidez, I believe, was his mandatory at 168, and he bypassed Benavidez. And then you got to look at Demetrius Andre. I think he's at 160, 168 too. He avoided him as well. Another champ, rangy guy, long boxer. Probably would have given him some problems, because he's kind of similar to Lara, and I think Lara gave Alvarez some problems because he can actually box. So I just named 3 off the break that he just kind of avoided, and he moved all the way up to cruiserweight. Now Alvarez, he's been lifting a lot of weight, bulking up a lot, getting a lot stronger. Not to say that he's doing anything illegal. I'm not even going to imply that. We're not going there. But that's just his past. But he's bulking up quite a bit. So him getting to up underneath 200 pounds, probably not difficult, because he's fighting at 168. He may walk around about 185, 190 maybe. And if he's walking around about 185, it probably wouldn't take him much to get to a fight weight about 195-ish, 190 something, to fight a guy, at cruiserweight. So it's probably not a big stretch. But the fact of the matter is, you cherry picked a guy like 2 or 3 weight classes up, when you have people right around within 10 pounds of you that you could have taken, and they would have been bigger fights, more competitive fights. That's a bit disturbing, considering you are supposed to be the guy for this era. So, especially when you got a lot of fight left, you're not on a farewell tour. You should still be trying to fight competitive fights at this stage in your career, but it just doesn't seem like he's doing that. But anyway, I just wanted to know what your thoughts were about a guy that Alvarez is fighting. He has 2 knockouts. He's been knocked out twice on his resume. He only fought 1 American boxer. Not to say that Americans are the standard, but that's another kind of telltale sign that this guy's probably off the radar. And yeah, I think he had Eric Fields. I think that's his only American fighter that he's ever fought. Everybody else has been kind of overseas in obscurity for the most part. So I don't know. This guy's probably hadn't even been on a big stage. So of course he took the fight. It's going to be his biggest payday ever. So he'll take it, even though he's probably not ready. But again, it is what it is. So again, that's breaking news. Alvarez got his next dance partner. Not a good dance partner. At least I don't anticipate this being very competitive. So he needs to fight him like in 2 months, 3 months. I don't know what they announced it as the fight date, but Alvarez doesn't need to train very long for this. His training camp could start today, really, and prepare for this guy. So it's just, I don't know. Boxing sometimes is disappointing, and this is one of those times where it is disappointing. So let me know what you think. Canelo's next fight has been announced, and like I said, he's kind of a, I don't want to say no name, but yeah, he's not very well known. So anyway, like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what your thoughts are on Canelo and his decision to fight the latest guy, because I don't even remember his name. I got to keep looking down. Makabu. So yeah, what do you think? Anyway, DJ Kryptonite out. Have a great afternoon.